best thing about life after lockdown is getting to see your family and your friends and getting hugs. Because I don't know about you, but during lockdown, I noticed a severe lack of hugs, and hugs are just the best. So yeah, seeing your family and getting some good old snuggy hugs.
Good.
Yes. We're
So
not
this
used
is
to
like
making
this is like the
videos.
fourth video. Uh, the first thing that I'm looking forward to is getting back in the gym and hugging me mates, even though I don't have any, but the ones that I do.
Your mate.
Thanks, man.
Well, I'm looking forward to going back to one of my favorite restaurants and just having
Which one?
a yummy meal. Probably Korean barbecue
Ooh.
or
Shabu.
sushi, shabu. Yeah.
Anyway, sending you love,
Love
and
you.
hope you're good, mate. Cheers.
Hi guys, Justine here from My Balance Project. The best part about life after lockdown, oh my god, there's so many things, but freedom, getting out and about, exploring this beautiful country of ours and getting to reconnect with family and friends has been an absolute highlight for me.
Hey everybody, hey guys, welcome to season 2. That is right, season 2 of QuaranTea with Kim. Today I am meeting with someone who I admire very, very much, the amazing Jessie, and I have a very weak peppermint tea to go with it. But without further ado, let's just kick into it because this is the way to go. Jessie, hi.
I just want to clap for that intro.
Thank you. That was good. Also, if anyone, anytime during this or after this, whenever it is posted, if you guys want a month of neon on us, all you have to do is hashtag neon, please, in the comments. We're going to slide into some DMs and gift you guys some neon because we're generous folks like that. Now, Jessie, kicking off season 2, I felt very passionately that before we get into all, the fun and games, which we will get into, it seems it would be wildly inappropriate to ignore the climate of what is going on in the world right now. First of all, I wanted to commend you for, whether you wanted it or not, you're kind of become this kind of leader in the space. And I think, again, I'm not sure if that was the goal in life, that you would be who everyone's turning to, but I'm sure that comes with a lot of responsibility. But one of the reasons that I wanted you to be our first episode straight out the gate was because you've been really articulate, honest, and vulnerable. And first of all, thank you for taking time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I watched all of season 1 during lockdown and everything. Yeah, and it was such a nice break from the monotony of every day to kind of feel like I was having a conversation with these people. I really enjoyed it. You bring a lot of value to the space.
Oh, thank you. So normally I kind of want to talk about lockdown, but I think it would be silly of me not to kind of just dive into what everyone's feeling and address that at the top of the show. So I have 5 fan questions. We call them the fan 5. Yes. And they are kind of questions that I was able to kind of scrape from your social that seem to be kind of the biggest questions in the atmosphere. Sure.
Yeah.
In the world. So the first one straight out the gate would be, how do you open a closed mind?
Honestly, and I had a massive wake up call and reminder that was something that I preach a lot, and it's something that my parents taught me, in particular my dad, who is Malaysian, Sri Lankan, South Indian, so he's very dark skinned, and he met my mum here when he was studying at Victoria University years ago, and it was very much in that protest movement, for Bastion Point with Māori rights and Springbok Tour protests. And his thing that he always imparts on me is that 2 things: if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is that no matter how angry you get, always take a pause, take a beat, and approach it from a place of love. And it's amazing how disarming that is when you are in a confronting conversation and you 2 heads are butting, you might not agree with everything that the other person's saying, but when you really kind of stop yourself and think every time you say something, where is this coming from? Is this coming from anger? Is this coming from a good place? It's amazing how when you switch that dialogue to something positive where it's coming from a place of love, it's amazing how the other person instantly, you can kind of see the tightness in their shoulders and everything kind of just go, okay, and I hear what you're saying. And I practice it even with my partner, Adam, when we have arguments and stuff. I'm like, I'm going to win this, but I'm going to do it this way. Like, and it resolves things so much quicker when you own your stuff. You come from a good place, and whether the other person wants to or not, it's almost like they have no choice but to be nice back, because otherwise they just look like an asshole. You know, like, so that's my biggest tip that I've learned from my dad. Yeah.
What would you say, and maybe this is kind of an observation, it came up in questions of this idea of jealousy, that it almost feels like some people are feeling jealous that this cause or this movement of Black Lives Matter is pulling focus from what they feel or their pain is attached to. I don't know if you've experienced a lot of that, but it was kind of something that was coming up of people being like, yeah, but what about this? Or so you don't care about this issue in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And like that kind of thing I've noticed is like a consistent thread. What do you think that is? And then how do you disarm that?
I think it's so layered, right? Like, everybody hurts. There's pain. There's so much pain in the world at the moment anyway. Mm-hmm. And discomfort and unrest and uncertainty. So everybody's kind of like at a heightened sense of like anxiety anyway. Yeah. So that makes it more difficult to broach anything when you want to bring something up to the surface and you want to like bring attention to it. There's always going to be an element of like, I know that's important, but what about this, this, and this? And I saw something the other day. Someone used the analogy of like, it's like everybody shows up to an event to like raising funds and focus around breast cancer. Mm-hmm. So everybody's there and they're all, you know, like there's women around telling their stories and sharing experiences, and they're talking, and someone's on the stage and I've had breast cancer, I've been through everything. And then somebody like runs in the room and is like, but all cancers matter. And it's like radio silence, because you kind of turn to the person like, we're not saying that they don't all matter, but right now in this moment, this is what we're holding space for because it's important. And I was like, that's such an easy way of looking at it, and acknowledging that just because we're talking about this right now doesn't mean that we're not validating that your pain and your struggles aren't just as important. It's just that right now we're holding space for this because it's literally on fire. Like, it's like if there was a street and there were a whole bunch of houses, there's this one house that's just absolutely burning to the ground. We're not going to go like knocking on everybody else's doors being like, are you okay? I just want to make sure that you're okay right now because your house matters too. Mm-hmm. I'm going to check that first, then I'm going to go to the house that's burning down right now. It's so simple, really, when you start to kind of like look at it that way. Yeah.
You would think so, yes.
I know, right? Yeah, in a perfect world.
I mean, I get it. I guess also like we're also something to remember, like we're also capable of caring about multiple different things simultaneously as well. So that's something to like maybe keep in mind, or maybe challenge people with if they are being combative. What would you say, and I saw you post a lot of stuff like this, for people who are finding it difficult to talk to family members? And I'll use an example. Say you're in a relationship or a family where the power isn't with you, perhaps. And so you're trying to talk to, say, your parents who, you know, even something I'm learning, that it almost seems like you get to a certain age where you're less likely to be receptive to new ideas and stuff like that. And or, you know, learn to use an Apple Watch or whatever it is. It's just this idea of something new, that there seems to be an inherent pushback regardless of the issue. So what would you say to someone who is trying to kind of bring this maybe in small or big doses? What would be your tips to someone trying to bring it to a family member or a friend where those dialogues aren't commonplace usually in those relationships?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing to remember is that when you get that pushback and resistance, and it's such a great like example, like when you talk about your parents or whatever, and they're like reluctant to try a new technology or whatever, honestly, what it boils down to is the fear of change, because it's unfamiliar, it's uncharted territory, it's not it's not within that comfortable bubble of what they have been brought up to know and think about the world. Or, you know, like they used to use, what was it? What are those things? Telegrams. Do you know what I mean? Like they've had to adapt to so many different things. And for people who have grown up being taught certain things about the way that they see other people, the way that they see the world, they're subconsciously being conditioned to kind of looking at things in a certain way. And it's very challenging to suddenly go, oh my God, like, how much of what I've been raised to believe about the world is maybe false? That's such a scary thing. And so when you talk to people that are resistant, I think the first easiest way to open their minds is to lead by example. So in your own space with what you're able to control, the way that you conduct yourself in a situation where maybe everybody's around and they make a joke that's like, that totally falls into the casual racism bracket, to call it out and say that makes me feel uncomfortable because of this. So you're not challenging everybody else, but you're speaking up, telling them how you feel about that thing and why. And it's just small changes like that you can kind of start to implement where you're leading the change. So instead of like pointing fingers like you're not doing enough of this and you need to start doing this, you just be that change. And it's amazing how much, like how subconsciously people will be picking up on it. It's like for myself and Adam, like about 3 and a bit years ago, we decided to go plant-based. And Adam comes from an Ashburton, like South Island farming family. So to say to them, I don't want to eat meat anymore is like sacrilege. It's like, what the hell? And he just kept doing it.
And on like meat and dairy, so it's like
totally
unpatriotic. Like
exactly. And I think at the start they were like, oh, it's Hippie Jessie's fault. Like she's gone and done it. It really wasn't my idea. He drove this whole thing. But it's amazing how many things they've like started to do themselves, you know, like, you know, eating more like plant-based meals that are meatless. And my parents are completely plant-based now, but it's leading that change, you know, so just living it, breathing it, doing it, being proactive in that space. People see, whether you think that they're paying attention or not, they are watching. Yeah.
What would be a change that people can make within themselves? Like what are some things that you, from sitting on the other side of this conversation as well, going like, oh, that would be such a simple adjustment. Like maybe it is just that stop and pause, but yeah, what would be some like, you know, little tips that I could improve on? Yeah,
I think there's so many things, but for the everyday person in an everyday normal situation, I think it's starting to kind of notice, like when you start to look around you and look around your environment and see how white skewed things can be. Like, for example, experiences like, I want a flesh colored bra, and you go to the shop and you look at the underwear section. What skin tone colors do you see? Like, there's not really like, for me to wear a skin tone bra, it basically looks white under my tops. Like there's, you know, you go to the supermarket and you want a flesh colored sticking plaster. It stops at a certain color. Like once you start to look, like understand it, and you look around with whether it be like on television, on social media, at different brands, like when you walk into a store and you see like the models and the like images around the store, you'll start to kind of really notice those things, and you start to kind of put yourself in someone like my shoes. Imagine moving through the world and never seeing yourself reflected back, like ever. And like there's a discomfort in that, but when you start to understand that, it could be as simple as you reaching out to different people and saying like, hey, like I've noticed that we don't employ anybody out in that, like we're not very diversified. Or you could approach a brand and be like, hey, I really wanted to talk to you about maybe how you could be a bit more representative and inclusive moving forward. And here are some great people that I follow. And it's the same in schools. Like, hey, I noticed that you don't teach te reo in your in any of your classrooms. Like, this might be something that could be amazing, like moving forward. Like, the kids could start learning another language, and why shouldn't it be the native indigenous language of our country? It's small things like that. Like, when you start to look around you and see the lack of diversity, it's amazing when everybody can collectively call it out in a really like respectful way. But I think that's a huge way of moving things forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. I there was one other question that came up. It does seem like a bit of a pivot, but I feel like it's kind of in the realm of things that you are really passionate about. And this was like, I guess it's taking it another step further, or expanding it in terms of things like animal testing and fair trade products, because whilst it might sound like a different issue, it's kind of just like, it's just honing in even further and further and further. So what is your process when you buy something? Because someone had put this in the comments and I was curious too. Like, it sounds like a lot of work, because I went to look for like hair care products and there's really only a couple on the market that don't do any animal testing or aren't part, and then it's even smaller, those products that do fair trade or community trade that aren't, what is the word? We're kind of taking advantage of smaller communities and, ripping their resources out for them, whatever that is, tea or coffee. So just quickly, what is your process in buying a product, and is it intense?
It honestly, everything kind of started when I started going like plant-based. Then I started to question every area of my life and how I'm showing up and how responsible I am as a consumer. And the cruelty-free thing is like going down a fucking rabbit hole. It's a deep one, and it can be overwhelming. And I remember when I first started doing it, firstly, I urge people not to chuck out your existing product. Use it, and while you're using it and finishing using it, research and find the products. And when everything, like one by one, when each product runs out, have something to replace it with that is cruelty-free, that could be like a more sustainable, more eco-friendly. So that's our first thing. It's such a hard one, but I've definitely found people that dedicate all their time and energy to making it easier for us to make educated and informed decisions. One in the cruelty-free space is Cruelty-Free Kitty. She has a website and Instagram, and you can go there, and it's just the most comprehensive resource showing you exactly where different brands, what their stance is on everything. So you can then like obviously decide like, okay, this is where I'm going to go for now. Like I might buy something that is cruelty-free, but it's not vegan, or it's cruelty-free, but it's owned by I don't know what it's called. Like Estee Lauder might own one of these like smaller brands, and some people are really like hard line on it, like, oh, I'm not going to buy it because this company owns it and they test on animals. Whereas I look at it as like, if we don't buy those products, they're never going to get big enough to be able to be the Estee Lauders and the Lancomes and the Revlons of the world. Like these brands don't really care about anything other than the fact that we're voting with our dollars. So if we stop buying and supporting brands, and we're supporting the brands that are making an effort and are like genuinely pouring resources and time and effort and energy into making better products for us, cleaner products, like less toxins, and that aren't tested on animals, that's where it puts pressure on the bigger brands to like, okay, we're going to like have to come to the party.
Quite insane that in 2020 there is still animal testing. Like,
it makes me so mad. It makes me so angry. And it's one of my like, yeah, I get so worked up and I get really disheartened when I see influencers that I really love and respect and admire. And I understand that it's an income, you're making an income, it's your job and stuff. But if we all just collectively were like, no, we're not going to work with these brands, I can't imagine how much faster this thing would have happened, and it just wouldn't be a thing right now. But every time I see someone say, this brand is amazing, look at all, like, you know, hello followers, like, buy this thing. I'm
Swipe
like,
up for my
why?
phone.
Yeah, and I know how lucrative it is, because when I was transitioning, there was an uncomfortable space where I needed the income. Like, my partner had gone through this crazy injury and he was temporarily paralyzed and we needed money. But I couldn't bring myself to sell products knowing what happens when I'm such an animal lover. I couldn't bring myself to take that paycheck and be like, no, it's fine. Like, I'm paying the bills and that's the main thing, and I'll worry about that later. Like, it's just, it doesn't sit well with me. Yeah.
Oh, I'm right there with you. Well, I'm
I
glad
love that you are.
Yeah, I'm glad that I got all the triggering stuff done at the top.
Yeah.
Good, which is perfect. And I thank you for speaking about that. I obviously align with you. I appreciate you taking time to kind of touch on some of that stuff too. I do have a little game I want to play called Just a Minute with Jessie. But first of all, I just wanted to like touch on the highlight and lowlight of lockdown, which now feels kind of like the distant past of like our problems. 2020 has been a very long year. But would there be like a highlight and lowlight that you would want to share from lockdown?
Yeah. I think because I have a chronic illness, I have endometriosis. It's like I felt like I was training my whole adult life, teenage and adult life, for lockdown, because I experienced lockdown a lot in my life. So I was like, yes, bring it on. I'm ready for this. And I loved that I didn't have to have FOMO because everybody was in lockdown, which is the very selfish part of the way I was thinking about it. So I just loved that it made everybody collectively like stop and breathe and really properly, truly connect with one another, you know, because there wasn't any outside noise and distractions. And like, you know, it was even nice to turn the TV on and there wasn't just a whole bunch of ads in between. It was like, whoa, because nobody's selling, they can't sell anything at the moment because everything's shut.
Briscoe's couldn't even have sales.
Yeah, no, exactly. There was no Briscoe's lady in the ad breaks. Yeah, so I loved that. I loved that people were cooking from home again and everything was just slower and more mindful. And I just thought that was such a beautiful thing, like just watching everybody. Like, it took a couple of weeks, I think, like at first, like for people that are really busy and have checklists and they are really social, like real social butterflies, it was a lot. But once they lent into it, it was so nice seeing everybody be like, wow, like I'm going to take some of this with me when I go out of lockdown. So that was definitely my highlight. And obviously spending time with my partner. Low point was we actually lost my partner's dad in level 4. And it was super challenging, the most bizarre way to grieve and experience loss when you couldn't be somewhere with family and have a funeral. Nothing. So that gave me a sense of like such compassion for all the families kind of going through what that was like and how that impacts people's mental health as well. Like, but at the same time,
where are you usually kind of with your mental health, if you don't mind or don't want to speak to it at the time? But
no, I'm very open, and I have been for a very long time, about the fact that I have clinical depression. So not just depression, but I have a chemical imbalance in my brain that kind of almost can lean towards bipolar almost. So I have to be very conscious and mindful about making sure that I take my meds every day, and making sure that I'm practicing self-care where I remove myself from the anxiety, which is like massive at the moment for everybody with what's going on, like taking a step back and just like doing some breath work. Like I love to put my feet up against the wall and, you know, just lie there and listen to like a meditation podcast or whatever it is, or sometimes like whales like in the ocean or whatever it is, or some Enya or deep forest. But it works, and it's kind of almost like recalibrating and resetting that like baseline that, you know, I need.
Are you good at that? Like I have depression, and it's like, it's been a lot of work in kind of this last 10 months since I was diagnosed, of monitoring my thoughts, because I suffer hugely from spiraling thoughts. And
yes,
it's quite hard to learn to, like, on the other side of it and being like, oh, I should have interjected earlier or whatever. Like, I'm kind of still learning that. Do you feel a little bit better about that? I'm asking, like, with a hopeful, like, does it get easier?
No, I know. No, you do get better. You do get better. But it's definitely when there are triggering events or things that you feel really strongly and passionately about. And especially for people like you and I that like put ourselves in a social space in the public eye. I know, because I watch you and I admire you for this, you always are willing to step up into that space and use your voice. But that comes with a set of responsibility and heaviness and weight, and it's a lot. And that's when I catch myself like going down that road of like spending too much time in that place, and I can feel my chest getting tight even talking about it. But it's like, it's exhausting, and then I forget those things that I'm meant to practice, like those daily rituals. Like sometimes, honestly, it's as simple as that discipline of like, that self-care to me in the morning is getting up and making my bed nice, doing my hospital corners, zhuzhing the pillows, which Adam hates because he thinks there's too many. Yeah.
I'm like, it's not really my
you
bed.
you have an excuse right now. But yeah, it's starting the day the way I intend to finish it. So I know that I'm going down that I'm really starting to get depressed again when I'm like, I get up in the morning, I don't make my bed, I don't have a shower, I don't change my clothes. And then it's midday and I haven't done any exercise, and I'm like, oh shit, Jessie, like check yourself. You're heading for that place again. And sometimes I'm in that place for a really long time. And I definitely was last year, and I did a lot of work. Like I did therapy. I did equine therapy. Have you even heard of that?
I don't know. Is this tapping? No?
No, it's working with horses. And I'm not even kidding.
Amazing.
Yeah, so I have PTSD from some things that happened to me when I was younger, and my therapist says that I over-intellectualize everything. I know it's a skill. I can talk my way out of a lot of things, and in our sessions, a lot of the time I would try and talk my way out of my feelings. I would try and like rationalize and be logical and make, this happen because of this. So she made me go and hang out with horses.
Right.
And they are specialized to work with people who have experienced trauma or have depression or children with special needs. And I honestly, I don't know why I was so anxious about it, but I just was like, because it was like, as soon as I got to the paddock and these horses just came to me, and one of them in particular just read me. I was like, what the hell is happening? And I just started ugly crying. And I like to be in control. I'm a control freak. I like to know what's happening. And so to have this horse be in my space and like bring all of this stuff out of me, I was like, what is happening? And I was so embarrassed. And it had to kind of like, I had to sort of like process it and go, this is what we're doing now, Jessie. And they can sense bullshit from a mile away. They just can. And I didn't know this about horses, but they are incredibly empathic animals. Like they have, I don't know how to explain it. I'm going to sound so ditzy when I say it, but we've got something around our heart that allows us to be empathic. But they have it in so many areas of their body. It's hormones or something. And they're not pack animals. So when they sense that they're in danger, or when someone's like got shit going on, they're like, I don't want to be in your space until you're ready to come to me and we're meeting halfway. So I had to do certain exercises like with them, like whether it was like lead them, and I had to like be like, what are you feeling right now? Where do you want to go? And I had to be intentional about it, because otherwise they wouldn't follow me. It was like this, it's so weird, but I've never experienced so much growth and breakthrough than when I did this equine therapy thing. And my therapist that was kind of there, and the person that helps with it, these therapy horses, the work that we did was exhausting and so incredible and like rewarding. And I wish that the government would make equine therapy accessible to people here, because I feel like if it was it's such an effective way of cutting to the core of things that we don't even know how to emotionally articulate. We haven't even realized a lot of it. So I highly recommend you try it when you get
Yeah,
out of
I
this
totally
quarantine.
will. Oh my gosh. And I'm such a hard out as well that I like push myself to go into those places that
Yeah,
I wouldn't normally
yeah,
just to get the horse to like me.
yeah. No, but that's the same as me. Like, I want this horse to like me. Why is he going away from me? Why doesn't he want to be here with me?
Deal with it. I'll
Yeah,
deal with it. Yeah. That's
yeah.
amazing.
It's so good. So if you're like me and you're a bit OCD and you like things like you like to plan and be in charge of things, which is one of my things with my anxiety. Like, it manifests in like OCD. Like, I start to be like, I need this done and I need to know where we're going and what's happening and I'm going to clean this. Like, that's when I know I'm spiraling. But this equine therapy, not just for people with PTSD, and anybody out there, like, Google equine therapy and working with soldiers with PTSD and you will just cry. Like, it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing. So when you get out of quarantine, go and do that.
Yeah. I could tell that I was getting anxious and my anxiety and stuff was building recently, well, before lockdown, because I would feel really uncomfortable when we'd move to a second location. Like, if you're having dinner and stuff and then they're like, oh, we'll go here. This innate, like, it's control and it's everything of like, oh, I wasn't
Ready for that.
I wasn't, yeah. And it's like, what a party pooper. And I'm like, oh, it's interesting how my mood completely changes when there's like a second location or everyone's like, go with the flow and I'm like,
I know. I want to sound like that. And people are always like, your gypsy lifestyle's been amazing over the last year, like 9 years. Like, I have moved so many times from cities to countries, like so much. And I want to be cool about it, but I stress the fuck out about like moving and packing and moving and packing and going to unknown places. It's so nice right now, like, we're based in Hamilton and like for the first time in a while, like, I've been able to make friends but so much of that, and you'll know this too, because when you're as transient as you are and you're moving like between home bases all the time, that's also like, it's something that impacts our mental health massively.
well, I will say that's like a silver lining of COVID that like, yeah, this coming back to New Zealand was only, I think, my 6th flight of this year. Whereas like, last year I'd
Normally.
Okay, I'm taking up so much of your time, but I do want to play this game, and then we do have a show that I am just absolutely frothing to talk to you about. Okay, so these are your Just a Minute with Jessie, and so the idea is that they're quick fire, but we're
Are you gonna ask me 6 questions?
6 questions. No, I wasn't going to ask you 6 questions.
I've watched Ellie and Louisa like 6 positions. I'm like, I'm too prudish for this shit.
No, I can ask you 6 questions. I don't currently have any 6 questions on it, but if you would like to change any of these to make them more sexual, we can. Okay. What is your pet peeve?
I have so many. At the moment, it's the word hon. I don't understand it. I don't understand it because it's not hon. Like, hun is short for honey. So what is honey? Nobody says honey. And so it honestly is such a massive pet peeve of mine at the moment when it's like, hey, Hans, or like me and my Hans. I'm like, what is that word? What memo did I miss? Is it a young person thing? Like, is there a new word that I'm not, but I actually, honestly, like my partner Adam and a girlfriend of mine, Pascal, use it just to rile me up. And she's just got a new car and they're like, we're going to get a license plate that says the Hon. I'm like, I'm not going to be friends with you if you do that. So that is my current pet peeve.
That's a good one. What is the best food drink combo?
Food drink combo. So we're talking drink as well as food.
Yeah. Like a margarita taco or like a pasta red wine or.
Okay. I am going to go very Malaysian on you right now.
Great, please do.
Yes. And there is a dish called QuaranTea, which is like this noodle dish. And it's like these flat rice noodles with just like all these like delicious things in it. And what you have with it is a pulled tea. It's called a teh tarik. And like when you see street vendors making it, it's a sweet hot tea and you like pour it like this. But it's like tradition. If you're ever in Malaysia or Singapore, like there's lots of street vendors and you'll see people, they have it breakfast, lunch or dinner. And you have your QuaranTea and your teh tarik tea, and it's just a thing. So very weird, I know, but yeah.
That sounds awesome. That sounds great. What is the worst smell in the world?
It's so funny because lots of people find this thing offensive that I think is amazing, which is durian fruit. I think yeah. I think I saw it on Fear Factor like years ago where like the contestants had to like eat it and they were like they were vomiting. Whereas to me, it smells like so good. Like I love the smell of it. So that is like some people might find it offensive. I don't. But the thing that I do find really bad, and I really struggled when I lived in Japan with the smell, is like fermented fish.
Yeah, and I guess like here's the thing. I don't know if I've ever smelt fermented fish, but yet my imagination is kind of allowing me to imagine what that is, and that's
pungent. It's pungent. It's
stings the nostrils. Okay.
Yeah.
What is a talent you wish you had?
Honestly, I really wish that I could be funny like you. Like the stand-up comedy thing is one of the most terrifying things to me. Like if somebody told me to get up on a stage and be funny, I would love that skill so much. Like to just know that I'm funny, that I can do it for a job, that I can get up on a stage and just I've never been that funny. Like I'm dorky funny. And then, like I'm self-deprecating.
Sure, that's the human way.
Yeah, exactly. But I would love to be funny.
I feel like you are. I feel like you're being difficult.
Okay, thanks.
But that's fine. I won't take away from whatever you want to push for. I think that you'd be fine. If someone gave you a microphone and went on stage and said, be funny, I think that you'd nail it.
No.
What is your favorite feature on yourself?
On myself? I'm very bad at this because I'm still learning to have, like, I have a very love-hate relationship with my appearance and my body, and that sounds stupid because I know that when I say that I've had a very strong negative response when people are like, shut up, Jessie, like, what are you talking about or whatever, but that's just me. I was bullied at school, and I think I'm still the 13-year-old girl. I actually think this is so cheesy, but now I honestly think it's my skin color, which is so weird because, but there was a time when that was the worst thing about me. That's what I thought. I thought it was the worst thing about me.
What a cool journey to be like.
Full circle, yeah. Because I love my melanin now. I like that I don't have to pay to get a spray tan.
Mm-hmm.
I love that it instantly identifies me with a whole community of people. I love that it represents like a huge part of my cultural identity, and I love that it's my part of my dad. So probably that.
I love that. And if I was to come for dinner, what would you cook me?
I love to cook.
Right.
I love to cook. What would I make? Do you like spicy food or no?
I do. I am such a hard out that I love really spicy food because I love my meal to be quite a challenge. Like I get
oh my God, you're like Adam.
I'm like competitive with myself. I'm like, I can do this.
You and Adam would get along. Like before he met me, and he was living the bachelor life, like he gave himself a year's challenge and he would put chilies with every meal and get it hotter and hotter and hotter. It's like subconsciously he was practicing to meet me, I feel like. Yeah. What would I make you? I think I would make you, it's this Thai dish. It's called som tam, and it's made with like grated green papaya. It's got lime juice in it and a fish sauce and like palm sugar and chilies. And then it's got like salted peanuts and this sauce that you like crush and make, and then you put the green papaya in and some like tomatoes, and then you usually have like chicken on the side, but obviously I'm plant-based, but I don't know if you've had it, but sun-fed chicken is amazing. You need to try it. It's so good. It's like chicken. No, it's made by a scientist that is, I think she's Fijian Indian, and she had this whole team that have developed it. So it's Kiwi made. Right. and it is the most delicious thing. It's made from pea protein and so it's really clean. It's not like a lot of other fake meats that like have just this ridiculously unhealthy list of ingredients. It's yum, and I make that on the side, and I put like some vegan chicken salt and like nutritional yeast on it and stuff. So I would make that with some sticky like white rice. That would be my meal.
I'm so hungry now. That sounds amazing. I'm like, when can I drive to Hamilton to make
Yeah, it's so good.
And then lastly, in your very quick fire questions, what would be your teleport location? If you could go anywhere right now, where would you go?
I would go back to Bali. I lived there for like almost 6 months, and was it last year or the year before? The year before. And it was just this place that I felt so deeply connected to. I'd been going there for years, but I made a home. It was like everybody there is from somewhere else. There's such a massive expat community, and everybody is like health conscious and mindful and really friendly. It's easy to make friends there because we're all from somewhere else. So you're not going into a place where everybody's got their cliques and stuff. And also they speak my like native language, which is Bahasa. It's a little bit different to the one in Malaysia, but that and the Hindu culture is what I grew up with as well. So I would teleport myself to Bali tomorrow if I could.
I'd like to go with you. That sounds like amazing. Okay, so we're going to pivot a little bit and talk about shows. I asked you prior to this kind of like, what shows on Neon have you been watching? And you gave me a long list, which includes, which was good, like Pose, The Affair, Nashville. But the one that I want to talk to you about the most, because I just finished it and thought it's probably one of the best shows I've seen in the last decade. Game of Thrones, great, but this was different. So tell me why you loved Dave and why everyone should watch Dave.
I love so much that you love it as much as me, and I think I binged it in like 3 days. And I was so sad when it was finished, and that's always when you know that it's a good show. But it is like, it's a comedy, but it's so beautifully done. There are so many things that you are accidentally learning in the show, like how vulnerable he is about his weird penis. Like when people, I'm trying to sell this to people that haven't seen it. So once you watch the first episode, that will make sense. But you know, even in his relationship with his girlfriend and how Dave like turns off the lights when they're about to have sex because he doesn't want her to see him, and he feels vulnerable about that. Like how many girls are like that anyway? But I loved seeing a guy in that situation and how it was so beautiful. Like, yeah, I don't want to I'm giving away things now, but I love these elements throughout the show that are so human and relatable and heartfelt and so like told in such a beautiful way, not a cheesy way. There was nothing stereotypical about this show. It was so funny, so diverse as well. And also like I just was obsessed with the men's fashion in this thing. Like I was like, every time Dave came in another scene, in any of them, I was like, I want that thing and I want that thing. Like I love men's fashion, but they just whoever like did the styling on the show, like A+. So yeah, fashion was amazing. Something that I really loved, and I can't remember his name. I'm terrible at remembering characters' names, but his like sidekick that's like the hype man on stage. What's his name? Gator, is it?
Gator, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I unexpectedly like had this moment, and I don't want to get emotional talking about it, but when he talks about his bipolar, I was like, oh, it was so beautiful. Did you think that as well?
I don't know if you can see my hairs, but
yes.
It gave me, so I, now you're going to make me emotional. So I actually did some further research and found out that is true. That
You're kidding me.
Friend.
Oh my God.
Because for me, it was like, as an actor, I watched that being like,
how did he go there?
All the awards, because he just explained and articulated something, and whether it's bipolar or whether it's depression, this
Yeah.
idea of up and feeling down. And it just articulated it in a way that like I spent and have spent so much of my life being like, how can I be Miss Extrovert yada
Yeah.
and then go home and just feel like this weight and sorrow and kind of have gone through so many years of feeling fraudulent, but yet
Yes.
I am still being me when I am being this.
Yeah.
But then hating myself at this, and like the way he just, sorry, I'm rambling now, but like,
No, but it's yeah.
he articulated it, you're right, like it just hit me in the chest because he did it in such a beautiful way. And I don't know if your experience was that, but it was like, whoa.
Oh my God, I was like, Adam looked over at me and I was proper crying. And I actually think he looked over at me not because I was crying so much, but because he was like, suddenly he got a new, completely different insight into my mental health struggles. Because we've been together for almost 9 years. He's been amazing, but he's never experienced like depression. It's incredibly hard for him to it's hard for anybody to understand that if they haven't experienced it. But the way that they told that story in that episode was so important and will speak to so many people, especially men as well, being able to be open, and the way that they like received his truth as well was so beautiful when they kind of just stopped like, what is wrong with you? You're crazy. Like, you're all over the show. Like, dude, like, get your shit together. I feel like that all the time. And I am in situations, you know, like often where Adam's like, what? Like, I can't keep like, you were just here and angry with me and now you want to be like all joyful and stuff. And it was so amazing to watch him like, oh, that blows my mind that he actually is bipolar. That's amazing. Because I wondered that. I was like, how is he, like, as an actor, how long has he been doing this for? And how did he go there like that? Like, it was beautiful. Yeah.
It was awesome. And then even just Dave's response of going, oh, it's a bit hard to be mad at you now.
But that's what I mean. Like that, but it was funny, but it was still really beautiful and endearing, his reaction, you know. But yeah, so I think if you love hip-hop culture, I think if you love the idea and concept of a dorky Jewish white man like trying to be a rapper, because Lil Dicky is actually an epic rapper. Awesome, like so good. If you like good fashion, if you want to cry sometimes but also just laugh so much, this is definitely probably one of the best shows I've seen in a really long time. And I really needed to laugh. Like, I really needed like that light relief, like a bit of escapism, but it was not surface level laughing. It was like good hearty laughing. Yeah. I think everybody needs to watch it.
I hope everyone watches it. I have gone well over my due time with you, but I'm fine with it because I love you so much. I'd like to end the show with a bit of a cheers. Now, you get to choose who we're going to do our cheers to. While you're thinking about who you want to do the cheers to, I want to let everyone know that if they want a month of Neon on us, we are very generous at Neon, and all you have to do is hashtag Neon Please in the comments. We'll slide into a few DMs. Sure. A few DMs and gift a few people that, as well as keep an eye out on our socials. When you see us post about our next guest, feel free to send some questions through. I'll do Fan 5 with all of our guests this season. Jessie, you're amazing. Who would you like to do the toast to today?
Is it weird if I cheers you right now? Because
you can cheers me, but we can do a cheers to each other after.
A double cheers. Okay. I'm going to do a double cheers.
Double cheers.
I want to cheers you first because it's not very often that I get somebody that holds space the way that you do in so many important areas. Like it's massive.
Thank you. I'll take it. I'll cheers to myself. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I think the other cheers that I want to do is, oh gosh, who is it? I think that the other cheers that I want to do is to collectively, like all the musicians and artists and stuff, that at the moment it's a really difficult time for them to to do their craft. Like there's so many restrictions on how they do things at the moment. But in this time, like it's amazing seeing all the innovative ways that they still continue to share their creativity and bring so much joy and light to people, whether it's with music or comedy or it's just been awesome seeing so many of you guys doing that, like Di's house party. Like,
Awesome.
but it's been amazing seeing creatives like coming together collectively and like sharing things still when there's so many restrictions on how you're going to be able to do that. It's been really exciting being able to see you guys still manage to share that. Yeah.
Well, let's do a cheers then to all the creatives and artists
Yes.
stuff out there who are making us laugh or giving us good content. Cheers to you guys.
Yes. Exactly.
And hold your glass, because it goes without saying that the final cheers should obviously go to you. I feel that there's been a lot of pressure obviously been put on your shoulders recently, because people like myself are coming to you, and the reason that we're coming to you is that you do approach everything with love. I know you mentioned the other day that you didn't, and you had one sort of like, that's not right. But I do hope you know that there's plenty of us watching and listening, and it just feels like such a great space for you to live in, because you do approach it with such grace. And I believe that's probably one of the most difficult things to do with a subject matter that innately creates such turmoil. So, which it shouldn't, but it does. And you seem to be handling that really well. So a cheers to you as an encouragement. Cheers to
Thank
please.
you. I love this. This is so good. Everybody should do this in real life. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. All right, guys, that was our show. You guys are amazing. Thank you for joining us. Remember to do #NeonPlease in the comments, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.